Congratulations, you really meant a serious and a very significant progress. I'm believing that you have practiced what you did in the previous lesson, and now I must congratulate you. Why? Because we've come to the final video lesson in Microsoft Access, right? And so what I want us to do right now is I want us to dive into this video lesson right away. Here's what you expect to get from this video lesson. Number one, we're going to do one more query that we didn't do in the previous lesson, and this query is called update query. Its job is to update records in your table, and then after that I'm going to show you how to create reports. Once you do that, we'll be done with this MS Access package, and you're going to be able to go into any organization. If they don't have any database, if they are keeping all their records in files, you'll be able to tell them, look, if you're going to be keeping all your records in files, you can lose your file. Those files can be torn up, they can be burnt, a lot of things can happen. So you'll be able to tell them, look, we need to create a database in our computer that will help us to keep all that information that you've been keeping in files, whether that is information about your assets or the information about your staff, or whether it's information about, if it's a college or institution, information about students, any kind of information. You'll be able to create a database, a very well structured database, and you'll be able to feed all that data in a computer, and then you'll be able to manage it from there. Okay. Anytime they want anything, you will ensure that each database has a unique key or a unique number that help you to trace the data of that specific item very fast. Like, remember how we gave student admission number, which is very unique to that student? You can do that for anything, for chairs, for vehicles, for anything in any given organization. All you need to do is create a unique field that identifies those records, and to be able to organize all their data and their information in one central point. And they are going to respect you for that, and they are going to start looking up to you as someone who is well versed with the use of ICT. And that's what I want to give you in this training course. So I want you to sit up, I want you to buckle down as we dive into this final part. I'm going to show you how to draw reports from your database. It's going to be very, very interesting. So let's dive in now. I want to open the database that you created last time, and then from there we are going to kick off with the query first. So let's open that database. I'm going to go to File Explorer. I'll double click File Explorer, and I'm going to open Documents, double click it, and then I'm going to look for my database. I'm scrolling upward, I'm looking for my database. We call it Kenya Medical Training College. Here it is. We double click to open it, and here we are. I click Close. Now, since I didn't get the message, the security message here, I'm going to assume that we can run an action query and succeed. If we don't succeed, then you're going to figure out about that security message, and you're going to enable the content. So the query that I want to show you is what we call update query. Let's take, for instance, let's say we have data like this, and we want to update someone from maybe physiotherapy or orthopedic, and we want to change that into dental. Okay, we want to make some changes on this data. We want to make some changes. Someone was working in laboratory, we want to update their record, and let's say we have moved them to neurosurgical department. You want to be able to indicate Newton is no longer on laboratory, it's on neurosurgery. neurosurgical department. So you want to change laboratory to neurosurgical. You do that using update query. Now, why is this important? Imagine a case whereby you have, in our case, in what we have here, the staff data, or rather the staff database, you have a case whereby several employees have been moved from one department to the other. There are two ways you can make those changes in your database. Remember, whatever happens externally, your database has to be updated. So if employee is moved from pharmacy department and they are now assigned to be working physiotherapy, then you want to make sure you come into your database and make sure you update your database so your database is up to date. Okay, so think about a case whereby several staff members have been moved from their department to a different department. You come back to your database, you want to update that. There are two ways you can go about it. You can go into your database and go picking each employee and making those changes. And let's say there are 10 or 100 employees that have been moved from one department to another department. That means you're going to come to your table and look for each and every one of those 100 employees and go updating. And that is going to take a lot of work. The other way is to use update query. You run a query that will change a given employee or a given staff from one department to the other with the click of a mouse. And this doesn't just work for employees. It also works for movement of items. Like if, let's say, we had office chairs in a certain office and they have been moved to a different office. In your department, you had indicated chair number maybe number 456 or number 1028 or whichever number has been moved to a certain office or is currently in a certain office. If that chair gets moved, you need to go to your database and show that the chair has been moved from this location or this department to another department. If there are movement of several chairs, a number of chairs from one department to another department, if you come to your database and you have to update them one by one, it's going to take a lot of time. So all you need to do is learn how to use update query. You run one query that will show you all the shift from one department to another department. I want to show you exactly how you do that. Let's get started. I'm going to close this one. Let's say, for instance, let me close this one and let's open the students. And let's say we have let's say someone like Rachel. Initially they are doing food and beverage. What if they have changed their course and now they are doing a different course like laboratory science? It's easy if it's a single record to change it from here and just type laboratory science. But if there are several students that have shifted from doing food and beverage, let's assume we had several students doing food and beverage. If several students have shifted from doing food and beverage to laboratory science, then changing them one by one is going to take a lot of time. So I need to run a query that will change all of them at once. So how do you do, or how do you work with that query? That is what I want to show you. Let's do it. I'm going to close that one. And then we go to create query design. And our interest is students. And then you add and you close. Now, let's do some improvement. Let me cancel this. Say no. Let me open my students. I want to do some improvement of this data so that you can see how important and effective this is. Let's add some more students here. Let's have a student like Rita Italine, and the mission number is and Rita contact, and this Rita Lee at Yahoo, at yahoo.com, and she comes from Kwale. Rita comes from Kwale, and there is also doing ICT, and this is certificate level. Oh, this is a medical school, so let's actually remove this ICT. Let's say Lita came here to do a course like pharmacy or nursing. Let's make it nursing. Also give Titus nursing also. We want to have several students who are going to be shifting. And let's also change this one. This is also nursing. Sorry, we have nursing, and the fee payment is the fee payment is for nursing 47,000. Actually this one is 39,000 for instance, and this student were admitted on 15th, and we can double click here and we can click add. We can pick any image from pictures just to represent them, then you click open and then okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to run an update query that will, let's assume several students, all students doing nursing, they have decided we want to change our course and we want to do laboratory science. Okay, so if you have a good number of the students doing that and you decide to update to table one at a time, it's going to take a lot of time. So all you need to do is you run a query that will go and pick all the nursing students that have decided to do laboratory science, all the nursing students, and then shift from nursing to laboratory science. So how do you do that? That's exactly what we want to do. Now we have already updated this, so we close this one. So let's do the query and see. So we go to create, and then you go to query design. Our interested on students, we click add, and then you close. Then you go to design, and then this is where you pick the query that you want. We want update. We've already worked the make table query, append, delete. We want update, so click update, and then you double click the fields to enter the fields on the query grid. Just double click them. Course, level, fees. Let's see, we have fees, we have date, and passport. Now we are assuming that this action query will run with this table, even though it has passport. Sometimes when you have an attachment, there are certain queries that do not run, but let's assume this one will run since it just needs to update the table where it is. So at this point, you want to update. Now can you see here you have update to? update to, in this row you enter the new course, okay, and then criteria, the original course that was there. Now for this student, we are focused on their course, so we go to where we have course, origin course. This is a course. Now this is the field that has update to, so this is where you type the new update, and they are changing to do laboratory science, so we type laboratory science, okay, laboratory science. Here we are. The question is, what were they doing initially before they chose laboratory science? That is what you enter on criteria. Can you see criteria here? This row criteria just below update to, that's what you enter there. So we go along the row of criteria on the course down here. Initially they were doing nursing. That's what you need to do. So when you run this query, it will go and find those students that are doing nursing, and then update all of them to laboratory science. Let's run the query and see. Click design, then you click run. There you are. So you told you are about to update 4 rows, meaning the query has found that there are 4 students that are doing nursing, and now it's going to update them to laboratory science. Click yes, and then you close the query and you save the query. So you click yes, and then you can call the query update, okay, and then you click OK, or update lab science, then you click OK. Now this is the query here. Again, you don't open this query. This is a action query, so you don't open the query. All you need to do is go to your table called students, see whether all the nursing students have been updated to laboratory science. So let's open the table students, double click. Here we are. You notice all the nursing students. This was a nursing students, now laboratory science, laboratory science, laboratory science. That is how you do it. So if you have 100 or 50 or more students that have changed department and therefore gone to one department, rather than come and update them one at a time, which is going to take a lot of time, just run an update query to do that for you. That's how important these queries are. When I close this one, I want us to do one more, especially on staff. So let's look at staff, and we have all this staff from department of let's say we have promoted our staffs, okay, and now they went for more education, they updated themselves, and now they have upgraded. They are no longer lecturers, therefore become professors, okay. And so where we have lecturer, they have gone back to university, they have upgraded themselves. They are no longer lecturers, now they are professors. So we're going to run a query to update all the lecturers. They are now professors. So we're going to run a query that to make that update. So let's close this one, and let's go to create menu, and let's go to design, query design. We are focused on staff, and then add, and then close. At this point you choose the query. We go to design, and then you go to update, okay. Then you just double click these ones to enter them in the query grid. The fields, staff ID, contact, scroll upward, we have staff email, department, position. All right, so now let's run the query. You go to design, and then you run. Sorry, we need to define the changes. So update to, we are updating them to professor. Initially they were lecturers, so we go to where we have positions here on update to, they are now professors. Okay, they are no longer lecturers. Initially, what were they? They were lecturers. So we go to criteria. Criteria is what was originally there, what data was originally there. Data that was there was lecturer. So we type lecturer. Now you want to make sure you type it exactly the way it is typed. Lecturer, the way it's typed on the table. If you don't type it the way it is typed on the table, then the system will not be able to recognize or know exactly what you want to change. So make sure it's very well spelled. After that, let's run it. You go to design, you run the query, and now you notice that 5 records are about to be updated. That means we had several of 5 staff members who were lecturers. Now they have been upgraded to professors. And let's say yes, and then you close it, and then you click yes. Let's save it. Let's call it update to professor. Update to prof. That's it. You click OK. So you have the query here, and the update have been done on the staff. Now you don't open this query, okay, because when you open it, you'll be running it again. So what you do is open staff table so that the updates have been implemented. Double click staff, and here we are. We no longer have lecturers, they are now professors. That is the power of using the update query, and that is how update query works. So here's what you're going to do. I'm going to give you a few minutes. I want you to take time and practice by doing just what you've done. If you've not been following along and doing it with me, take a few minutes, do what you've done, those 2 queries, and then when we resume, we are going to go to the final part of this video lesson, actually the final part of working with Access. I'm going to show you how to create reports. Okay, so you have few minutes to practice what you've done, and then I'll be coming back to be diving into reports. Okay, here we are. I hope you have done those queries, the update queries, and you have mastered them. Don't worry, at the end of this video lesson, you're gonna take all the time that you need and practice everything. For now, let's get ahead. Let me show you how to do reports. Remember how I said there are several objects in Access, and you said we have tables, which already we have covered. We said we have queries, which already we have done. We said we have forms, which already we have done. And now we are looking at the 4th part of it, and that is report. Of course, there are others. The others are beyond the scope of this training. We have others like micro and page, but don't worry about this one. They are beyond the scope of this training. What I'm giving you and what actually we're covering in this course will enable you to become very effective in any organization that you're working in. Okay, so we're going to go to the final part of this, and that is reports. So what are reports? So at the end of the day, in the database that you have, you're going to be asked for reports. For instance, you could be told that we want you to look into our database, and we want you to retrieve for us those students who are doing a course like nursing. Create a report on that, and then you print the report for us. Okay, so what do? You don't create a query. Of course, you can create a query to pull for you those students that are doing nursing by using select query, but then you cannot print a query. You only print reports. So if you're told we want a report, a prepared report of those students that are doing nursing, what do you do? First of all, you run a query that you select for you those students that are doing nursing, and then out of that query you run a report that will retrieve that data in that query and create a report for you. I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to open our students. Here are our students, and let's assume that you've been told we want all the students that are doing laboratory science. Create a report, print it, bring it to my office. You have your database, so you go to your database, you open your database, and you can notice we have several students here who are doing laboratory science. So the first step that you do is not even the report. The first step that you do is you create a query that will pick for you only those students that have done or are doing laboratory science, so that out of that retrieved data by the query you can now create a report from there. So let's do that, and this will give you really good practice, because we have to go back to select query. We run a select query that will pull for us those who are doing laboratory science, and then based on what we get, we now create a report. So let's do that. First step, create a query that will pull for you the data that you're looking for. So we go to create, and then you come to query design. We know this is a select query. It's the one that can help you pull that data. So we want to put the data from students, add, close. Okay, now let's go to design. Actually, we don't need to go to design, we just need to add these fields here. Okay, add all these fields here, scroll up, we have origin, gender, course, scroll up, we have level, fees, admission date. Remember, when you're creating query, you can ignore some of those things that are not necessary. For instance, in this case, the report may not require the photo of the student, and so we don't need this passport. So rather than double click the passport and have it entered in the query grid, since we do not need the passport, we can decide not to include it in the query grid. Okay, so that the query grid does not have to give out the passport. We just want this information, and out of this information we can now create a report. So let's ignore the passport because we don't need it in that report, and then let's run the query. We go to design, and then you click run. That could have been a big mistake. Before we run, what are we looking for? Those who are doing laboratory science. So we have to come to course here, okay, where course meets the raw criteria, and we are looking for laboratory science. Laboratory science. So when we run this query, it's going to pick for us only students that are doing laboratory science. Once those students are picked, we can create a report now based on that. So let's run the query, design, run. And now what do we have? Only those who are doing laboratory science. Let's save this query, and then you're going to create a report based on this query to get that information. So you close the query, you say yes, let's call this one laboratory science. Close, click OK. So now we want to create a report, but our report is going to be based on the data that is kept here in laboratory science, because that is where we have the data that we are looking for. So how do you create a report? It's easy. You go to create, and then you come to report wizard. Click report wizard. Here you are. What you notice is the report is almost close like a form. They're actually very close. And now here we have table student, but our report is not based on any table. We want report for the student doing laboratory science, and we run a query that captured or select for us those specific students, and that data is in that query, and the query is called laboratory science. So you have to come here and pick laboratory science, because this is where you have all the students that have done laboratory science. And then what do you want? If they tell you in the report, they can tell you in the report you want to see the name of the student, the admission number, their contact. We are not interested in their origin. We just want to see their contact, their email, and then the gender and the course and the level. If they can tell you specific things that they want to see. In a report, you don't need to include everything. You only include what is required. Okay. So in this case, we are going to go out what is required in the report. Of course, in the report, they are going to need to know the name of the student. So rather than click this and move all of this on the other side, and these fields are not all required in the report. Let's just pick what's required in that report. Report has to be very specific. Okay, and that's the difference between report and any other object that you've done. The report has to be very specific. So let's shift all these ones back using this arrow back, and then we are going to pick each field one by one what we actually need. We are going to need student name, so I'll click this one to shift it there. We will need admission, we need contact, email, origin. We are not interested in origin. Okay, gender, yes, we want to know gender, so I click gender and click move. Course, yes. Level, yes. Fees, yes. Admission date, we can decide we don't want to see the admission date. Okay, we're not interested in that. We just want to see how many students doing laboratory science, so we can ignore that. So this will not be part of the report. The report will only show what is on the right side. Click next, and now here you can group your report. Okay, let me show you what I mean. If I click this arrow, you notice the report will have the data arranged in a very sliding manner. You notice we have student, admission is slightly moved a little bit forward. We have conduct a little bit intended toward the right side, and gender. So if you want a report that has this cascading or sliding kind of arrangement, you can do that. But if you want one that just it doesn't have this grouping, you can just get all of them back. Okay, let's get one that has this kind of arrangement. No, let's not. Great, it's good to have it just the way it is. Then you're going to click next, and then here, if you want the report, the arrangement in a given order, in any ascending order or descending order, or you want to arrange one of the fields, maybe you want to arrange them based on admission number, and you want them starting from the first to the last. So I can click admission number, and then you can arrange the admission number in either ascending or descending order. Descending order means it will start from the highest to the lowest. And remember, the highest to the lowest means you're going to have the highest. The highest basically means the last student to report. Okay, so we want to have it in actually descending order, meaning starting from the student who reported first to the ones that reported recently. Remember, the ones that reported recently will have the highest, or in terms of admission number, the admission number will have bigger value or huge value, like 2006, compared to one who came earlier, which 2001. So you want it in descending order. Then you click next, and then you can decide, do you want your report to be in landscape? Remember landscape in Word, or do you want the orientation of your page to be portrait? In this case, we go with the portrait. And then you can decide whether you want your report to be in columnar or whether you want your report to be in tabular. Let's go with the tabular, and then you go next. And then this is how you want your report, the name of your report. Let's call laboratory science students. Science students. Let's go back to make sure everything is correct and well arranged. Go back. I think think everything is okay. Tabular, next. That is it. Then we click finish. Here you are. So this is your report. This report shows you only what is required. Now if you scroll down, you notice at the bottom here the report has when the report was created on Wednesday, August 31st, 2022. And now you can print this one. This one is printable. If I click, it is going to enlarge and you can see what is inside. Now you might notice something, that we are not able, we have hash here. And what this hash means is Access is not able to display what is here because this this field here, there's not enough space to put everything that's required here. So how do we fix that? I will show you. You can go just like form and redesign your report the way you want. You also notice fee, everything cannot be displayed here, and so we are not able to see everything that we want to see. I'm going to show you how to make the adjustment on your report before you print it. But this is the report. Now let's close it. And now let's scroll down here and get to our laboratory report, which is this one. Let's right click and open it in the design view. And just like we did with the table, let's do with this report. Let's make some good arrangements here. Let's look at level. The field level is not that big, so we don't need to have it this long. Like the name and area, it's either diploma certificate, it's not long. But for the fees, we need to have it wider enough to accommodate fees. So first of all, come here at the end of the report, you click and you drag it a little bit. Okay, create more space, and then click this level, bring your mouse pointer at the handle here, pull it back a little bit, the word certificate, that's enough space for the word certificate. You can also pull this one a little bit back. Okay, course, I think course is okay. Student name, okay, good. Let's now do some arrangement. Let's pull this report a little bit again up to that point, and now let's arrange this. I will select this label, I'll click and I drag. I want to move it somewhere there, and then I'm going to click and enlarge it a little bit. We want to make sure that it's able to accommodate the fee. I'll click this one, I'll move it a little bit somewhere there, and I'll pull it to make sure there's enough space to accommodate fee. The reason why we are seeing hash sign is because Access finds the space so narrow that it cannot show the fee. Remember, once we design it here, that's all. So click level, drag it a little bit, click level here, drag it a little bit. Okay, you just click, you make sure your mouse pointer is, it has, actually you come at the edge here, the mouse pointer will change to 4 arrows pointing on the opposite direction. You click and you drag, you move it a little bit closer here. Do the same for this one. And then you can click gender and you drag gender to resize gender. Let's resize it again. Then let's go, we click this, we move it somewhere there. And then email, let's resize it so that it can accommodate emails. Click email there, pull it. Contact, we saw Ash because the contact, there's not enough space. Let's try to stretch it and see whether we can have the word fitting there. Names, okay, let's stretch this one again a little bit. We want to rearrange everything to make sure that everything is visible on the report. Okay, let's move this level a little bit, create enough space, move it a little bit there. Click this label here, let's move it a little bit. Click course, let's move it a little bit. Great, let's click label here again. You want to make sure that your report is presentable, so you just don't go with what Access gives you. You have the power to customize your report and make it look more presentable. Let's move this agenda a little bit somewhere there. Okay, and this box, let's move this checkbox somewhere there. And now we have, instead of moving this one, come at this handle and just resize it, make it a little bit longer, so that it can accommodate the entire email. And then you also make this one a little bit longer to access the to accommodate phone number. Okay, the names, let's pull it a little bit back. This a little bit back, and let's pull this a little bit back. Okay, and pull this a little bit back. Great. Now let's see what we have. I'm going to close this, then you say yes to save the changes. Let's open the report and see how it looks like. Double click it. Great. Everything now seems to be very visible. Right, everything seems to be very visible, except this one we have really moved it a lot. Okay, this one we might need to notice something seems like something has been cut off here, but really we have all the information. So this is your report. Okay, now let's do it again, and this time round. And by the way, as you can notice, they are arranged in a descending order: 207, 206, 205, 2000. So this is the latest student to report, okay, because we set the admission number to be sorted. But you notice the admission number, something is missing. The admission, the ID is missing, so we need to rearrange it slightly. Improve its arrangement so that you can see the full name of admission number. So let's do that. Close it. I'm going to right click it, and then let's open it in the design, and then let's click this student name and let's move it just a little bit. Okay, click student name, move it a little bit, and then click this label for admission number, move it a little bit. Click this one for admission number, move it a little bit. Not yet. Let's move this one a little bit. Click this one, let's move it a little bit. And let's click admission number, let's stretch a little bit. click this one, let's move it a little bit. Good. And then fee, we can move fee a little bit. Okay. Now click here, let's drag this a little bit. Label a little bit. Okay. And then we can move, let's drag a little bit the form, and then let's close and see. Say yes to save the changes, then you double click. Here we are, and now you can see the admission number, you can see student name, you can see contact, you can see the email and all that. So now this is your report, and that's how you create a report. Now this report, you can print it if you want to print the report. All you need to do at this point, you can just click, let's see, printing. You can click here to preview the report. Click preview. Actually the report is here, you can preview it. If you want to print it, you can go to access, and then you go to print, and then you go to preview. This is how the report will look like when you print the report. It will look like this. So it only shows you the information that's required, but we have a problem. We have some of the information that has already been cut off, so you might need to give it a better arrangement. Because notice when you print this information, that is not going to be visible here, and that's why for a report, only include what's required on the report. Like we may not even need this gender, so if you removed gender, then you'd have enough space for us to arrange everything in this report. But we'll do one more, so don't worry. So now let's do one more actually, and let's use a different layout. Same report, but we are going to include a few things. So you go to create, then you go to report wizard. We are going to create the report from laboratory science, but you only want to see student name, admission, contact. We are not interested in their email or origin or even gender, just want to see the course, and then the level and the fee. Okay, and then next. We can decide this time around, let's rearrange the report. Okay, and then you click next, and then we want to use the, actually we don't want to sort it, we just want it the way it is. We're not going to sort it, and then we go next. And this time around, you can use, you notice that the layout has changed. We no longer have tabular, we only have stepped, block, and outline. This has changed because, let me go back, because we grouped it this way. The moment you group it this way, the layout changes. If we reverse this process and you have the report like this, and then you go next, and then next, you notice the layout is columnar and tabular. Okay, so let's go back. I'm clicking back, let's group it. Okay, and then let's go next and next, and the layout is stepped. We can use stepped, and then we can have the report portrait, and then the next, it's going to be laboratory science report, laboratory science students. Actually, since we have another one by that time, let's say is lab science student. The reason we are changing the name is because we have another report with the same name, and they will not be accommodated. So lab science student report, and then you click finish. And now notice how this one looks way much more better, but still have I think this one is okay. What you notice, they are arranged sliding, like we have a student name here, the admission number slides here, and the other one slides here, the other one slides here, and the level keeps on sliding. They are arranged in a very stepped manner. So you decide how you want your report to look like. Okay, And notice we didn't include a lot of things in this report. We only included what was necessary. Let's close it, and we can open it in the design view. You right click it, you can open it in the design view, and then you can improve the report if you want to improve the report. Let's close it. It seems perfect. Let's do one more. You go to create, you go to report wizard, some report there. We want to see student name, admission number, probably contact. We don't see email, origin or gender. We just want to see course and level. Okay, maybe we might be interested in fees, how much they have paid, and then you click next. Let's do the stepped report. You click next, but this time around let's pick block. Okay, stepped, this is how to look like. Block, this is how to look like. Let's see what we get to the block. You can also pick outline, but let's see what we get to the block. Click block, and then let's go with the block, and then let's see next, and then let's see laboratory science 2. It's called laboratory science 2, and click finish, and this is what you get. Okay, so there are different ways in which you can arrange your report. What you notice is that the fee is not seen here, and the reason because there's a lot of data here to the point that the fee cannot be accommodated, and that's why for a report, choose what they are asking for. Okay, you cannot show everything. So let's right click, let's open it, the design view, and here is the report. You can make some changes if you want, but we're going to retain it as it is. Let's do one more final. Let's run a report, and this report is going to pick those students with higher fee. So we're going to create a report based on this higher fee, and higher fee means those students that have a fee of 70 and above. Okay, remember the quality created to select that. It's called higher fee. So let's create a report based on that. Create, and report wizard, and then we click here, and you want those with higher fees, so click higher fee. You're told we want a report of those students that have fees which is 70,000 and above, or whichever number. So we want to see the student name, the admission number, probably the course they are doing, and the fees. Just that. Remember, in a report, you're not looking for everything, you're looking for specific information. Click next. We can arrange it in a stepped manner. Click next, and this time around we can choose outline. We just block. Let's now choose outline. Let's see what it looks like. Next, and higher fee report. Higher fee report. You should always give it a better name, like student fee above 75,000, for instance. 75,000, actually 70,000. At least when you give a name that's very specific, you already know what's in that report, and then you finish. And this is your report. Notice now how this one looks slightly different, and showing you all the students. You can see the admission number, the course the student is doing, admission number, this is the admission number, student name, this is the name, the course, it's pharmacy, fees is 75, student name, Joel, admission number 204, course, clinical officer, fees 100,000. So there are different models of reports, and you can get all these reports. You determine the one that you want. You want to print the report, like I said, you go to file, you click to print, and then you click preview to see how the report will look like. If your computer is connected to a printer, you click print, it will print the report. Let's do one more. Let's say we want a report that gets us those students that are doing diploma. We already created a query that has students who are doing diploma. So this query here. So run a report based on this query. So we go to create, we go to report, and we want those who are doing diploma. That's the report we've been asked for. So you click diploma, and then we want to see the student, the admission number, contact note, the course they are doing. Okay, we don't want the level. We know already this has who are doing diploma course, so maybe we want to see the fees. Okay, and that's all. You click next. You can decide not to group them. You click next, and then here you can decide, rather than have tabular, which is what you had previously, you can now have columnar, and see how that one looks like. And then you click next. Diploma student report. Type report, and then finish. And this is it. So the different formats for your reports, and the point is, all reports at the bottom, they are going to show the date the report was generated, the number of pages in this report. Okay, great. So that is how you work with Microsoft Access. Now, like Excel, this is one of the most important programs that you are going to find anywhere you go. Okay, whether it's in hospitals, companies, training institutions, government agencies, NGO, church, wherever you go, you're going to have to use a database. There's no way keeping data in a well-organized central place in any given organization unless they are using a database program. They might not use Access, but most of these organizations will use Access. Okay, and so getting good at what you've covered in this package is very, very important. You can go and apply it wherever you will work. Same case with Excel. We learned how it's very important tool to analyze data. Same case with Word. We learned how you can use Word to create any document that you want. And again, the first packet that we covered, if you don't know how to open a computer and reorganize your files, then again, you'll not be able to work with a computer and organize your work in your office or wherever it is that you will be working or you are working in a very, you will not be able to organize your files into work in a computer in a very good way. And so those 4 packages are very, very important. So I want you to take your time, you practice, get good at them. Remember, repetition is the mother of skill. So you have to do them over and over and over again until they become part of you. Mastering computer is not hard, but you need to do it over and over again until you really get good at it. So practice. Now, after this, we're going to dive into a whole new package, and that is Microsoft PowerPoint. Have you ever seen people do presentations using a projector? And you wonder, how do they create those, how do they come up with those slides that are able to run using a projector? I want to show you how you do that in the next package. It's going to be very exciting. While we may not have a projector to connect, I will show you how they design them in a computer, so that after they have designed them, all they need to do is connect a projector and they are able to project them, whether that is in a church, or whether you're making a sales presentation, whether you're creating awareness, or in a business meeting. I'll show you how you do that. That is coming up in the next new package. So in the meantime, take your time, practice, get really, really good at what you've covered, and I'll see you as we dive into a very exciting package, Microsoft PowerPoint. Until then, perfect your skills.